Hey guys, what's going on? This is Jeff with Gel Production, and today we're going to be looking at how to take green screen footage and turning it into a news report. Now, this project is very particular in that we were looking for a 4:3 standard def 1980s newsroom vibe, but this can be very universal, whatever footage that you're using that does have green screen in it. So today, this is what we will be taking a look at.
Sad news this morning. The once famous Ordina case has now been officially closed.
Oh no. So anyways, as you can see here, we have Mike, our great actor, bald head and all. We see him going head of pan from left to right, and then a really ugly closed case file graphic pops up on his left side. Now, again, as you can see, if you look particularly at, we have scan lines, we got some noise, we got a monitor type of a look, that's vignette. Obviously there's some background stuff, so a lot to go over, but again, this is painfully average because this is what is expected if you get green screen footage, that you can take the key out and do some animation to it, or whatever the client or employer wants you to do. So let's go ahead and get right to it. So we'll take this off screen, and we'll go ahead and take our footage. And now this footage, we shot it on 1280 by 720, 23.976 frames per second. And so what you want to do is you want to drag in your footage into to import, and we're going to take this and put it into a new comp. Now again, our goal is to make sure that we get this 4:3 look. But because we don't have that, we shot at high definition, we want to make sure that we get the key out first and then put it into a 4:3 comp later. So let's go ahead and do that. So with our green screen footage selected, we're going to go to our effects controls, and one way to get to it, you can either type in key light in here, or you can right click, go to keying and key light. Okay, now this is a great plugin that comes with After Effects, which is awesome. All you got to do is just take this eyedropper and drop it on the green closest to your subject. Now, depending on how you shoot your green screen footage or how the client gave you the footage, you always want to make sure that you have a clean black to white separation. So one way to do that, to make sure that we do have that, is under here, final result, we go to screen matte. And as you can tell, up here is great, not so much down here. Now, one way you can do it is taking a mask and mask around your subject, especially if the green is not fully covering your screen. You can do it that way, which today we're not, because we have a full green screen here. But the other way is underneath screen matte. So with this viewfinder up, let's go ahead and make it bigger. Under screen matte, we want to go to the clip black section first. And I always like to start with this with 20% or whatever, just to get a decent indication on how it's going. Maybe, how about 28? All right, 28 looks great. So we have all the black taken out, but if you can see a little bit, his tie is right here. So let's go ahead and drop down the white to about, let's say, 95. Let's go down to 90. All right, so on my screen I can see it's a full white to black, and that's what we want. Okay, so obviously you'll probably have something different than those numbers, but that is what you're looking for. Okay, now one thing is let's say that you have your subject or your talent, and they're wearing a black blazer, that when you do this and you play it back, you see a lot of noise that's going on their clothing. Well, the good news is that underneath the inside mask option, if you click that, go down, if you change your replace method to hard color or soft color, experiment one of the two, that will be able to take that thing out, which is really cool. It took me a while to figure that out, but I found that out, and it's been a lifesaver. So that's if you have some hardcore noise going on your talent's apparel. Next time, tell them don't wear that apparel. So perfect. So we have our footage, and it's already keyed out, so that's perfect. So let's go back into our project panel. This is our footage right here. Let's go ahead and call this Mike's name, GS for green screen pre-comp, and I'm going ahead and leave that there. So now let's go ahead and create our 4:3 composition. So I'm going to click down here, or Control N, Command N for new composition, NTSCDV. 10 seconds is great. Click OK. Okay, so now there we go. Let's go ahead and name this Mike _4:3. and put that in my tutorial folder. Okay, perfect. So with this opened, I'm going to click and drag select Mike, drop it underneath the pre-comp, and as you can tell, he's too big. So we're going to go ahead and take his comp, select it, press S on your keyboard for the scale, and we're just going to scale it down to where the bottom of this is right here. You can click and drag, but you just kind of want to make sure that you have really good headroom. I mean, your basic composition of standard framing for a nice shot. Don't want to cut his head off too much, but you want to fill enough to make it look good. All right, so enough of that. So there we go. Now we're in our 4x3. Now, here's a good way to, well, first of all, let's go ahead and create a background to see. In the example, we did a nice little plain background. So let's go ahead and do that. So with the 4x3 selected, Control or Command Y to bring up the shortcut for solid, BG for background, and again, you can do whatever color you want. I'm going to keep it consistent from the example I gave, so I'm going to go like about right there, click OK, and there we go. It's our background, and drag underneath it. Now here's a great check to see to make sure that your key did work. You want to scrub through your footage and see if you see any like little scrub spots around there. You might want to go ahead and mask that out on your actual key footage. But if it looks like this, where everything is hunky-dory, then you are good to go. Okay, so let's go ahead and further establish this background. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing, Command Y. I kind of want to make a spotlight, not like an actual spotlight with like a 3D light, but I kind of want to go with a white spot, a spot to kind of show some depth in the background. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to select this with the white spot, and up here where your your ellipse tool is, I'm going to select that, double click. Okay, so that will give a nice circle. I'm going to double click on the mask, hold Control, and drag in. Again, this is all subjective, so you can release or do whatever you want, but the essential thing that I'm doing right here is I'm going to take this mask and press F to feather it nice out. As you can see, I'm going to drag it underneath Mike on top of my background layer, and then press T on my keyboard for the opacity and go down to at least 25. That's too much. Let's try 50. Okay, perfect. Now, as you can see, it's a nice little spotlight, and I'm actually going to move this over here because by the time we go ahead and pan him over, this is going to be a nice, your eye will hopefully draw attention to the ugly case file icon that will go right here. Okay, so as you can see, that's a nice little touch. So let's go ahead and do that little pan cross animation that we did for the actual final version. Okay, here we go. Time to get some pretty average here. So with your comp selected, you want to press P for position and drag to wherever you think is necessary to start the pan. I'm going to do it right when he says a couple of words. So for me, it's at the 1:15 mark. I'm going to go ahead and press this stopwatch for a key, setting the key right there. And I'm going to hold Shift page down twice to go 20 frames over. And with this selected, just simply click Shift and drag to a decent spot. Right there is good. So that's all you got to do. Pretty average. Anyways, so unfortunately, I feel like it's too harsh, the begin and landing point. So again, you guessed it, we're going to do some easy ease types of keyframing. So right here, I'm going to select this keyframe first. I'm going to right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease out, which gradually takes the pan to the right, nice and easy. And then when it stops, I'm going to do the same thing, but just easy ease. Okay. Nice little brand preview, not too bad. All subjective, take it or leave it, it's all good. All right, anyways, so there we go, we got our pan. Now, let's go ahead and bring in our ugly case file image comp, or whatever type of picture you want to use. Again, it's too big, so let's go ahead and press the S for scale, and let's just go ahead and position this right up here. Continue on, I think I did 18. 18 looks good, let's go even farther. All right, so 17. Okay, now if you hit your, oh gosh, I can't, the button right next to the enter sign, gosh, I can't remember what that thing is called, but this gives you your safe guidelines. So you don't want to go all the way to the far right, but you want to go in your safe guidelines section. There we go, perfect. So you can either leave that on or take it off, but that's a cool way to, it's your actual proportional grid, not your proportional grid, your actual title action safe button right there. Ooh, thank you, autosave. All right, so I always like to have that in there, especially when I'm using pictures. And if you were wondering where I got this image, well, the only thing that I did not create was the actual case file. Everything else has been created within After Effects. So you have your case file that you can easily get offline or online, excuse me. Red, nice little stripes right there with some text on top of it, and then a nice white background. Okay, pretty average. So back into After Effects, back into the 4x3 comp, you have it right there. So when it goes over, I'm gonna set my playhead right here, and then with this selected, press T for the opacity, set a keyframe, and change it to 0. All right. Again, I'm gonna go shift page down twice for 20 frames a second, and then go all the way up to 100. Okay. Same thing I'm gonna do with the keyframes. Easy ease out and easy ease. Okay.
This morning, the once famous.
There we go. So as you can see, that's how we just do our basic animation for that. I just added, as you can see here, I just added like 2 solids that were black underneath it to give that whole like retro feel to it. I'm not gonna do that just because it's, I don't know, it's kind of boring. Anyways, moving on, we want to do some more fun stuff. So let's do a little bit of color correction. So if I have the mic selected, or actually, yeah, let's move on from that. All right, so this is pretty basic from here to here. Now, if you think that this background is too plain, you can actually like spice it up a bit. And one way to do that is using fractal noise. So a way to do that, just create another solid or an actual adjustment layer. Either or works, doesn't matter what color. Click OK. Underneath your effects and presets, fractal noise, and drag and drop. Now here you can make, this is such an awesome effect. You can play around with evolution. You can do turbulent, smooth, or where is it, dynamic, progressive. Like there's so many things you can do, but we're not going to go into this very much. We're just going to take this and add it to or change the blend mode to multiply. And since this is the first time we actually did any blends, if you don't see this, if this is your what you're seeing, just go down here and toggle switch, or just right click columns and then modes. Okay, so we want to change that to multiply, which literally takes out the white inside and leaves the blacks. Now take it, drag and drop underneath the mic. Actually, I might go underneath the white spot too, and then the opacity, T on your keyboard, I'm going to go with 25. Okay, so as you can see, that gives your background a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more stuff going on as opposed to just a plain background. Okay, so let's move on. We're going to take our mic 4x3 comp, we're going to drag that into a new composition, and let's go ahead and rename this final _ out, so we know that this is the last one to do. Okay, so let's do a little bit of color correction. So with mic selected, we're going to go to Effect, Color Correction, Tint. I'm going to take this down to about at least 10, and then right click on that, Color Correction, Curves. And here again, this is all subjective. You can change it. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the saturation up a little bit, and then just make it a little bit more where when we go ahead and add all these really interesting effects on top of it, it has enough color to play around with the effect. Also, that's a really great still image of Mike. Anyways, moving on. So yes, so we got our color correction done, and as you can see, that's all right there. Actually, I'm gonna go in here and reposition this guy. I think it's way too high. Alright, that was just a personal thing. Alright, that looks a lot better. Okay, so we want to know next how we got this look for our final composite. Well, first thing we want to do is create a new adjustment layer. So right click, adjustment layer, First thing is we're just going to add simple noise. Okay, so under effects and preset, exit that out, type in noise, drag and drop. And we didn't use too much, just enough to show that there was some noise on the screen. You don't want to overpower your composition, but just enough to give that effect. As I zoom in here, you can see the noise is present, definitely. And that's good, because that's what we want. We want to kind of take our clean footage and kind of degrade it. So that's the first one. Let's go ahead and get those monitor up. So let's go ahead with another adjustment layer. Enter, monitor. And here with it selected, right click. And I'm going to go to generate, fill. Change the color from red to black. And just like we did with the white spot, we don't want to use this type of ellipse tool. We want to use a rounded rectangle tool. Double click that. And once that is established, double click it. Hold down Command or Control on your keyboard and just go ahead and hold down Shift as well so you can have the same proportions. But we just want to go just enough inside of the comp and then change the mask from add to subtract, F to feather, and just feather it out to your heart's content. Now, being a product of the 80s, I remember this growing up, standard definition all the time, and there was always this nice vignette on your television because the screen itself protruded from the actual TV set. So there was always this bulge effect going on. So that's how you get that nice little monitor effect right there. Okay. Now, because of that, because it was very rounded, your interior lights would always reflect it on the edges. Now, to sell that effect is very simplistic as well. We're going to go ahead and Control Y for a new solid. Again, make it white, not pure white, but just make it white enough. I'm going to go ahead and call this glare. And then with our pen tool, we're going to actually, with your solid selected, we're just going to go in here and then just draw out. Oops. Yeah. Double click it. And then I'm going to change it to, it's not doing it. Where is it at? Convert text tool, which rounds it all out. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to do on this bottom one just to give you an understanding of what we're doing here. So we got our nice little rounded edge. So we're going to press F for the mask, change that up to about 50. Let's do 70. And then take T for opacity, change that to about I wouldn't say 25, let's try 45. Okay, it's very, very light, but again, it's all subjective on what you want to do. So there you go. You can add more, you can add on all around the edges if you want. This actually might be prevalent on this case underneath his blazer, but regardless, that's the technique. Again, there you go. So next thing is let's make those blinds, which is actually very, very simple. So let's just go blinds. And it's actually a transition effect, Venetian blinds. Drag and drop. And as you can tell, if you take down the transition, it's already there for you. So we just gotta make some a little bit more different parameters. So change that to 25. Width is all subjective. 12 looks good. That's the one I used. And let's change the feather to about 10. 10's too much. Let's try 8. There you go. That looks good. Actually, change this to 20. Cool. So those are your blinds. Let's drag it right underneath the monitor. Let's make sure that the monitor and noise are above the blinds. And then let's go ahead underneath the opacity, change that to about 70. There we go. So when you drag your footage, you can definitely tell it is becoming more and more like standard F television. Nice little RAM preview. Case closed. Cool. Awesome. So, last thing on our list, and like I said, there's really not much to do once you figure this stuff out. We're going to do a little color correction. There you can do a lot of different presets if you wanted, but let's go ahead and do our standard curves. Bring this down. Kind of. Oh, that's way too much. Let's just bring it all up a little bit, brighten it. And there you go. Brighten it up a touch. And so yeah, that's pretty much the whole effect. So to recap, if you go in, make sure when you get your footage, you just got to make sure you understand what your output is, aka your aspect ratio. If you're doing 4:3, make sure you just do the footage first, pre-comp it, and then put it into a comp that is 4:3 that you can do all your fun stuff to. And then after that, you can go into a final comp and then add all your bells and whistles on top of that footage. In fact, I'm actually going to bring this in a little bit more to showcase it. There we go. It feels a lot better. So what I did was I put this all on a 3D television set, motion tracked it, and turned out pretty cool. So, and here's some other examples. So as you can tell, we've been using Mike's example right here. Here's another example where, first of all, that hair is just pretty stellar for the 80s. As you can see, the background is a little bit different, so is the actual image that we used. And this is just, again, just using shape layers behind your talent. And then we also had a guy as a quote-unquote field reporter, and we just shot this on green screen as well, and then just used a backplate, put it behind him, and did some really cool light techniques. And yeah, so this is pretty much it, guys. I hope you learned something new. Again, these are average traits that you can definitely utilize in your future projects, and we'll see you next time.